Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to Accelerated Health TV and radio show. I'm your host, Sarah Bant. I'm a health coach, natural supplement expert, and a busy mom of three. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so you're notified every week with my new podcasts on Mondays and Tuesdays. And if you haven't already, join my free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. There is no downside. I teach you on a daily basis with tips and tools to enhance your health, and you will be a part of a like-minded group to support you on your journey, in addition to truly taking control of your health. I am so excited to have my favorite guest back on, Dr. John Gray. He's the author of the most well-known and trusted relationship book of all time. If you haven't heard of it or read it, you've been living under a rock. Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And USA Today listed his book as one of the top 10 most influential books of the last quarter century. He's got multiple books, so not just that one, and you'll want to read them all. Welcome, John. How are you today?
I'm really happy to be with you again.
Well, today we're talking about something a little different. And for those of you who have not heard John and I talk before, there are multiple podcasts on the channel that you definitely need to check out on sex and romance and relationships and the new generation, about how they're confusing sex and gender roles have been really wonky. But today I want to talk about something different. And selfishly, this is something that I am really interested in as I'm married. My kids are getting grown. I'm healthy right now, 47. I'm hoping to live to, 150, but that's not always what's going to happen. So we're going to talk about how to support a partner through illness when it's difficult. You've got two people who have diverging health experiences. Maybe one gets on a health path in their 40s, wants to lose some weight, and has these aha moments where they get rid of all the processed foods. They start cleaning up their diet. They start exercising, doing all of these things, and their partner is sitting on the couch and they're not letting go of that mindset. And maybe one becomes chronically ill. Maybe there's just a diversion in the view of health. And so it's really easy when we're young, right? We're all healthy and we can get away with anything. So John, I wanted to talk about what you see in all of your clinical work that you've done in relationships and how they progress, and how can we navigate these divergent paths that partners may have.
Well, you brought up a lot of scenarios, which I've seen all of those scenarios. I can only start with one, and I'm going to do an analogy with that one. It's where you're working really hard on your health. Say they're part of your program, and you have all these great supplements and everything, and your partner is just sitting on the couch and they're eating chips and watching TV. Okay. So it's kind of like you're in love, you want a relationship to last, but you see your partner's not taking care of themselves. You are taking care of themselves, and it can build resentment inside. Is that one scenario we're talking about?
Yep.
Okay. So I like to think about my brother-in-law. He's very environmentally friendly. He does all the environmental stuff, and and his neighbor doesn't. So he's like really pissed off at his neighbor. He gets angry. And part of the anger is not just my neighbor is not caring about the planet, et cetera, et cetera. It's that he's doing it, and it seems like the other person should be doing it. So this is resentment. I'm working hard. Why aren't you? So we have to look at this as our own problem. Okay, it's our own problem. And I know so many women are dependent financially on their husband, and it looks like he's just not staying healthy and you're doing everything you can to be healthy. That's another resentment. Okay. And it's based on love. I love him. I care about him. But really it's controlling, trying to control your partner. And that's the main essence I want to get to, is no matter how we justify our controlling of our partner, it will not work. When you resist someone, they will tend to resist back. So it looks basically like, I'm upset with my partner, they're not taking care of myself. Well, that's none of your business. But it is my business. I'm dependent on them. It's none of your business. And yes, you're dependent on them. So wouldn't you like them to live a healthy life and so forth? Yes. So how can you do that? Give them lots of love. And how you give them love is not just to, okay, I don't care, I'm just going to let them do what they want to do. That's one aspect of the solution. But another aspect of the solution is to engage them in the relationship without making demands on them. When you make demands of your partner, you will tend to get resistance. And when you get resistance, then the problem just gets worse, and you start resenting more, and you sort of, you give a virtue signal, which is, I'm only trying to help them. Well, the key here is mind your own business and help yourself, but then help the relationship, and use your partner not to change for his benefit, but to change for your benefit. And the way that works is starting to create a kind of relationship where he experiences success in helping you. See, we're really in relationships to help each other. That's really part of the whole thing, is that I really like you a lot. I love you. I want to create a life with you. And the life isn't just about for me. It's also, we want to help each other be the best person we can be the happiest person we can be. And so it looks like how to ask for help in a way that's not trying to change somebody. So it'd be like, maybe you're making dinner and you say, honey, would you help me chop the zucchini? That's it. Honey, when you're straightening up the house, would you help me move these chairs? Would you help me put this away? So you're not telling them what to do, but you're asking for help. And this is a real difference of, you should do this and I'm doing this and you're not doing that. And that's a tendency. It's a theme that women are way more vulnerable to. Not that men can't be there, but women typically do more in relationships than men. In a man's mind, I'm supporting the relationship with what I do outside of the relationship. See, I go to work, even if she's going to work as well, but doesn't matter. He's outside doing these things, and he feels, I'm doing this to make our life better. And now she feels, well, I'm making her life better too. And also in the home, I'm doing all these things. So generally speaking, women carry a lot more resentment towards their partners than men. And you can say, well, yeah, that's because he's just doing what he likes to do. And then so I say to women, well, why aren't you doing more of what you like to do? Well, somebody's got to do all this stuff. Well, you can ask for help. You can't just expect him to do it. There's this dynamic of men, and it's different in different men, but the dynamic is a universal gene. We could say it like that. Men have, we have 23 genes that women don't have. Okay, that's what that Y chromosome, sex differentiation gene, it gives us about 23 genes that you just don't have. And one of those genes, I'm now surmising, is responsible for a principle I see in men, which is never do anything you don't have to do. Now,
John, this is coming out in my 20-year-old son.
It's just never do anything you don't have to do. So if a man, that's also one of the dynamics with health. Generally speaking, men are less motivated to take care of their health until they get sick. Okay, then they get motivated. Whereas women worry more. They think more about the future. You're designed to do it. Why? Because if you have a baby, because you have a whole biology which makes babies and tends to babies and nurtures babies, the baby can't ask for help. The baby can't communicate. You're always having to think, what could happen? What could happen? What can happen? And so you've got this wired up thing, whereas men can just block out all negativity. Now we have to be able to do that. We have to block out consequences, because think about the warrior going into battle. He can't be thinking about what could happen. He'd be afraid all the time. So he has to take action. Fear holds us back. Fear says, don't do it. So we had to block out the fear, no fear, in order to do something. And no fear means don't look at fear tells you what possibly could go wrong. Well, you can't be thinking of everything that possibly can go wrong and go into battle. So we have a mechanism inside, which is don't feel, and don't feel fear. And when you don't feel fear, you don't anticipate what could go wrong. Whereas women are thinking about that. So anytime women are using that power to change a man, he just resists it. But your power as a woman to motivate a man, and you think, well, why do I have to motivate him? Because you do. Otherwise, he's just going to do his thing. He doesn't know what's going to come around the corner in terms of his health and what's going on. So you need to build something into the relationship where he is feeling successful in attending to you. Okay, that makes him want to join into your world more. The whole thing is you want to bring him into your world, ask him for help, and then he's more with you, because inside you're over there judging his lifestyle and judging based on fear. That's just pushing him out of your life. Mm-hmm. And if you look at wellness, one of the major factors of wellness besides nutrition is love. And he needs to feel your love. And if you're over there afraid he's going to die sooner and you're resenting that he's not taking care of himself, basically you're blocking his ability to love, and you're blocking your own ability to love.
And worsening his health.
And worsening your own health too. Keep that in mind. Okay, so righteousness, look, I'm doing all the right things and he's not, is producing stress in your body. And that inhibits the nutrition that you're getting of the lifestyle you're trying to follow for yourself. And you find that you're not sleeping at night. You find you have your mind worrying about things. You find that's not good for her health. That's not good for his health. And so to value those things that are most important, to realize that for men, a lot of men die earlier than women statistically. Mm-hmm. But those men that do die earlier, in terms of statistics, you're just looking at men's death rate, and that men have a averaged out younger death rate is because they die from accidents. Okay. A lot of it is dying from accidents, doing dangerous things, or drug addiction. And the only reason men are addicted to drugs is they're not happy in their lives because they don't have love. That's just a reality. I mean, I've got one of my, he's 80 years old. His father lived to 98 years old. And these are men who continue working. The most important thing for a man, for his wellness, as opposed to going to see doctors or not seeing doctors. Doctors don't live that long. So let's just put that in perspective. We have this idea that it's all just about doctors and food we eat. And there's so many people in their 90s that don't do any of the things we do, Sarah, in order to stay healthy. So, and you see these people in their 90s who never followed any of our advice or didn't do anything, but they worked. Okay, that's the whole dynamic, is they continue working. They found something they do, and they work, and they have a family. People with families live longer, they're healthier. You have children, you're going to live longer, you're going to be healthy statistically. So we have to, focus on our fears are my partner's not doing the way I'm doing it, which is because you're more educated and women are going to look for other things you can do, and you're eating that bad food and that's terrible for you. Yep, it is. But at the same time, if you try to change your partner's habits, you're going to interfere with the love that's potentially there from the relationship. Mm-hmm. So what I'm suggesting is for people to realize that more important than any dietary habit or exercise habit is having a relationship where you feel both are being heard and loved and cared for. And so a woman can go, well, you should eat carrots. I don't want to eat carrots. I don't like them. Well, you're not listening to me. see, then she's telling her this, oh, he's not hearing me. No, he's not responding to you trying to control him. But if you were to ask for him to help you on something little, okay, would you help me make dinner tonight? Would you go on a walk with me? And it's, no, I'm tired. Only a 5-minute walk. That's it. 5-minute walk. Okay, I'll do that. What I find is when, as a man, I get into that gene, which is don't do anything you don't have to do. And so that means, I don't want to do that. Then you shorten the request. You give a time. You can say only 5 minutes. I need that. Would you do something would you help me with this? Or would you go for a walk with me? Would you make dinner with me? Would you, my friends want to go do this. Would you take me? And he says, I'd rather not. See, men go into this passive mode, and that's what causes their lack of health. Okay? Mm-hmm. And women go into this fearful mode, anxious mode, which can also lead to hidden resentments as well. That's what is a major cause of their sickness, and to lead them to eat bad things. For example, people have difficulty with overeating. Well, they're overeating because they're burning off the fear or the unhappy feelings. If you're unhappy, before you can get unhappy, you just grab the chips.
Right.
See, our brain's really smart. I don't want to be unhappy, so I'll go. Any junk food type thing is going to take away negative emotions. Well, our tendency to use junk foods and so forth is going to become less if we're feeling loved and supported. So I guess when we're talking about this dynamic, and I don't remember all the other dynamics, you can bring them up. The most important is, if you're trying to change your partner, stop. And what you do is motivate your partner to help you. Trying to change your partner to help them is the wrong direction. Okay, unless they're asking, if they're asking for help, then they'll receive help. But usually it's the woman who typically, when it comes to health and wellness, is going to want to offer help, and he doesn't do it. Then she takes it personally, and that builds up resentment. And if he won't do that, then he doesn't love me. It has nothing to do with that. It's like none of your business. You're trying to control somebody. And another dynamic I talk a lot about, but it's the same principle. But it was in my marriage, my wife has passed on. And I would say that she had cancer and died. And she's the one who ate really good. She had the vegetables every meal. She ate the vegetables. I'll just have a steak, So, she's the one who sees all the doctors, and she's the one who takes time. She spent time in the garden, whatever. But in retrospect, when I look at, she went very quickly, which was, we can talk about that whole journey for me and so forth. But I think that for her, during the 9 months where she found out she had cancer and then her body disappeared, basically it was a tumor in her ovaries, but it was also in that whole area, which blocked digestion for some reason. She couldn't get food into her body. Mm-hmm. So she kind of starved to death. But it was very, very sad, and we were optimistic the whole time because we do all this natural stuff and whatever. But there's no question in my mind that a big part of it was this emotional issue deep down inside. She'd been married before. Her husband, 2 little children, had betrayed her, and she felt very hurt by that. She grew up in a family where her mother always made her wrong for everything. The father had also cheated on the mother. So she had all these fears around not being able to trust love. And we had a beautiful, beautiful marriage. But at the same time, your past follows you. For example, one of the things to make our marriage wonderful, I said to her one time, I said, honey, why is it you never apologize for things? I apologize for everything. It's like, and I have a limit. I can only do 6 apologies a week, and that's it. She upset about, so I'm so sorry. And I said, why don't you ever apologize? And it was very sweet. She said to me, John, my childhood was so painful. Everything I did was, from my mother's point of view, was wrong, and I was bad, and I should have done it better. And if I was to say I'm sorry to you, and you said you should be, it would kill me. And So that was a trauma that she had. I said, and it was very good for me to hear that. It took away all my resentment. And I said, okay, honey, you never, ever have to say you're sorry. I know inside you're doing your very best. And she said, thank you. But that sort of forced me, which was good, to never say, you haven't apologized to me. I understood why she had a hard time apologizing. A lot of people will say, I'm not going to feel better until you apologize, which is a foolish thing to limit your own happiness based upon somebody else's behavior. So I learned how to be happy and forgiving and loving without her having to apologize, which I think is a great lesson. But I also, in retrospect, think it's a great thing for people to learn how to apologize.
Yes.
But that was sort of the status quo in our marriage. And there was a place inside that she hadn't healed, just not trusting. And I think the best part of her life was, in certain things, was when she was sick, because when she was sick, she had to ask me to do stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 100%. I'm there. It pulled out the best part of me. All I did is wanted to take care of the woman I love. And she would ask for this and ask for this. And I had to drive her places, then take her to the doctor. I had to help carry her to the house, all these various things. It was very tender. It was very, very tender. And I never felt such tenderness, and she'd never felt such tenderness from me. So I think before she passed, she truly felt loved, that she was loved. And I felt so loved too, because she said, I said, I'm just so sorry the day before she died, I couldn't save you. And she said, oh, John, don't feel bad. You're my hero. You did everything you possibly could. So it was very, very healing. And even though it was a sickness and a time to go.
And that's such a beautiful story, John. I don't think I've ever heard you talk about it in that way. And it really shows that, at first we were talking about when someone just won't change their habits. And I want to emphasize the fact that the other person who's asking them to change their habits and they won't change, that's not because they don't love you. So I wanted to really emphasize that. But then we switched into when an illness comes about unasked for, right? She's not eating unhealthy. She's not doing anything to deserve her condition. And then how that changes the dynamic, where a lot of partners could become resentful, just that's sucking the time and their energy to take care of their spouse or their partner, where you took it as this opportunity to show love and to make it a much more beautiful story and experience, and the healing that went on through that experience. It just shows that you have a choice on how you live out any experience. God throws at us these conditions and challenges that we weren't expecting on our wedding day, when we're looking all perfect and we're in our 20s and we don't have wrinkles, and our sex lives are great and all of this stuff is fantastic. You don't foresee that you're going to have a trouble health wise down the road, and one's going to have to take care of the other. And the opportunity that it gives you, instead of looking at it as a negative, looking at it as a positive and a growth experience.
Yeah. As you're talking, I'm just seeing that her sickness, truly, she couldn't do it all. My wife can do it all. She's amazing. My daughter, Lauren, has a new baby, and mom isn't there to take care of the whole, grandma is there to help. And boy, she would have just been over there and doing all this stuff. She just sort of organized the whole everything, and which was beautiful. But one of the vulnerabilities, one of the challenges for her was not asking for help. It was something I always encouraged her to do. And I wish I had encouraged her to do it more, because so many times there was clearly things she could have asked for that she wasn't getting, and she could have asked for it. And I'll tell you, in retrospect, I can see why she would feel, always psychologically, from the psychological point of view, people don't ask for help because they feel unworthy. And that came from her childhood. If I asked for something, who are you? You're being selfish. You should take care of your brothers and you should do this. So that's a big thing for women, which is if you ask for what you want, then you're being selfish. And it just destroys a little girl to have a mother say you're selfish. There's just no defense. You say, little boy, you're being selfish. It's like, so what? There is a biological shift there. It's like, we talked before about our hormones are different, and for a male, you build up testosterone by being independent. I have to think for myself. So it's part of our makeup. Yeah, I have to take care of me. Whereas for females, independence produces testosterone, but not more of the female hormones of estrogen. And what produces more estrogen, which once again is part of your hormonal balance that lowers stress in your body, helps you be healthy. And for anybody listening, it's learning how to ask for help. If you're a woman, asking is one of the big life things. Even to ask is an act of trust.
Yeah.
I don't trust that he'll respond. And men don't realize how important it is to give women that reassurance. Now, I can see, first few years of my marriage with Bonnie, she's always saying, I need reassurance. I need reassurance. I had no idea what she meant. Well, we overcame that, but clearly there was places where she could take it the wrong way, which is like, she asked me, would you turn out the light in the living room? Now, if she asked that, I'd jump up and turn it off. But she said, can you just remember to do that all the time? And I couldn't. Okay. And she doesn't realize that some people can remember to turn out the light all the time, like her being a Virgo. She sees everything that's wrong and she can fix it. So I don't see that, so I would walk to the living room, leave the light on. So when she asked me, not knowing that I'm different, she didn't know I'm different. We learned that, but certain little things clearly was hard for her in the beginning. If I don't turn out the light when she says, when you go to the living room, you should turn out the light. Now, just so people understand the story, our house is really long. Okay. You go from the bedroom to hallways to bedrooms, and then the living room, and then the dining room, and then the kitchen and the TV room. So I go from the bedroom to the TV room. I'm doing a lot of light switches, and, I'm just going through. So I can turn them on, but you forget to turn them off as you're passing through. So she says, it's a simple little thing. Can't you do that? And I said, well, I'll try. But when I don't do it, in her mind, she goes, it's just a little thing. So if he doesn't do a little thing, he must not love me.
Right.
And then if it keeps going on and on, I've told him 15 times, wow, I can't trust him to do something little. What if there was something big? You see, that's not the way, that's not reality. If it's something big, I'll be on it right away. Okay. But if it's something little, so what? What's the big deal? It's hard for men to remember little things because we're geared to do big stuff. Why are we geared to do big stuff? Because when you do big stuff, as an author, I want to be a best-selling author. That's the big stuff. I don't want just a book in the bookstore. The reading in the bookstore was a big thing at one point for me. And then best-selling author. You get more recognition, you get more love, you get more support, you get more money. And with that money, you can support your family. So it's men are generally geared towards, I got to do big stuff, and little stuff. It's not such a big deal. All right. So having said that, from her point of view is, if he doesn't do these little things, how can I trust him to do big things? When the reality is, if he doesn't do little things, he can certainly do. It doesn't mean he's not going to do big things. And it certainly doesn't mean he doesn't love you. Well, she overcame that in that situation. And she, just for women learning how to ask for help and get it, because it is very reassuring when you can ask for something little and get it. One day she came into the kitchen after many years of being frustrated with me on this little matter. She smiled and she said, John, I've noticed sometimes you've been turning out the light. Now, probably she noticed one day. Okay. And the truth is, from my side, I was not leaving it on all the time. So she said, I've in a positive way, she said, I've noticed you've been turning out the light lately. And I just wanted to remind you how good it makes me feel. And still, sometimes you forget, and it's not that big of a deal, and walked out of the room. Do you see the psychology of there? There's no control in that. She could have even said, I've noticed you've been doing it good, but I notice also, I just wanted to point out, you still forget. That's the judgment. You see, that's the punishment. You're kind of set up and then knocked down. But what she did was set it up, which is I've noticed you've been doing it. I just want to remind you, what are you going to remind me of? How good it makes you feel. So what's wrong with that? And then it's just a slight little, and sometimes you forget and it's not a big deal. 3 times of that, and I started remembering all the time. See,
And she walked out of the room. I love that little trick. And will you describe why that's so important?
it's so important because what happens when a woman says you forgot to do something, because that's really what she's saying, you're still doing this annoying thing for me. If she stays in the room, she looks at you. It's like this eye. So what are you going to say in response? Are you going to promise to do it? And there's like, you can easily get stuck just in this sort of eye contact where she's looking for a response from me, but she's not looking for a response. See, she's not looking for, okay, I was bad, I'm going to do better now. That's something you want a man to feel on his own. I was successful and I can be more successful. See, that's the idea, that men are motivated by success. And you kind of wonder, why aren't men just concerned about all this stuff that she would be? Is that because we're biologically different. Well, bigger is better for us. And it took years of training to realize doing little things has a big impact for women. And as a therapist, I began seeing this, because you look at when women want divorces, often it's a list of little stuff. He ignores me. He's working all the time. He never talks to me anymore. It's just these little dynamics. And it certainly, some couples get to the point of violence and horrible drug addiction. Those are good reasons to get a divorce or separate but a lot of people they don't love each other anymore, or they say, we're just not right for each other. We're going to need to go our different ways. We love each other so much. And in those cases, sometimes that's the case. But sometimes you dig a little deeper and you find out there's all these resentments. Mm-hmm. One of my books, I talk about the 4 R's, which is things we feel annoyed by, little resistances, but it's not a big deal. So we let it go, but we don't communicate about it. And so nothing changes. So nothing changes at all. So those little resistances, if nothing changes, or at least you don't get to talk about it, then it turns into resentment. Okay. Our resistance turns into resentment. And if you can't let go of your resentments, again, through forgiveness and understanding and solving whatever issue it is, either finding a real level of acceptance and it's not really a big deal, or you find your partner make a change, but you got to get rid of that resentment. And if you stay in the world of resentment, the problem keeps happening, the behavior keeps repeating itself, then you go into a place of judgment, rejection. And the way rejection shows up in relationships is, well, we love each other. See, you're pushing this stuff down. And so it turns into rejection. And rejection is where couples literally begin to believe that we're just too incompatible. He likes to watch TV. I like to read books. And in the beginning, that was fine. But now suddenly we're just too, he wants to travel. I want to stay home. He wants more sex. I want less sex. So that it's suddenly your mind creates a big story where we're just incompatible and can't be together. and you can watch this. It happens that you can go through the 4 R's very quickly, but over time you sort of get stuck in the resistance, stuck in the resentment, stuck in the rejection. It's kind of like my partner. They don't want to come with me on this walk. You said, well, it's annoying. She never comes on the walk. And then you start telling a story to yourself. Well, I did this for her and I did this for her and she won't want to walk with me. So that's resentment as well. So then I don't care. I don't need her to go on the walk anyway. I'll just go my way. See, it's a little story. What gets worse and worse and worse. And then finally it's like, oh, it's no big deal. And you just go for the walk by yourself. I didn't want to go up with them anyway. So that's repression. So you go resistance, resentment, then rejection, and then you repress, and then everything's fine again. But there's no longer an open heart, or one layer of the radiance of love is diminished, another is diminished, another is diminished. And this is sort of how couples who are really nice on the surface will process by pushing down, pushing down, pushing down. And then we're good friends, but we have no attraction to each other. We have no interest in each other. We really don't want it. We want to go our separate ways, and divorce is the answer. When actually, that's okay if you want to live your life that way. I have no judgment with it. But when you have children, I work hard to have people look more deeply into really what's going on inside, because it's no longer just you and your partner, it's you and your children as well.
Yeah.
And the number one reason for the upside down world we live in today, where it's just insanity out there, it's crazy. The world's becoming crazy. Crisis is everywhere. Just it all comes from a lack of self-esteem inside of ourselves, a lack of knowing who we are. It's become so extreme that a boy doesn't even know he's a boy. Just like we've got completely an illusion. But this is all the result of divorce. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And divorce is the result of men and women not loving each other. It takes two people to make a baby. It takes two people to raise your children. And, and a child that grows up without a father, 70% of Black children do not have a father living in the home, or a man living in the home.
Right.
A single mother. And there's no way a mother can be single and be happy in raising children. It takes two. And so you got a little boy growing up feeling like he can't make his mother happy, and dad's a bad guy, so he's a bad guy. And a little girl goes, there's no man here. I have to learn to do it myself. I can't trust anybody. So these very formative years where we have to learn to be open-hearted and trusting and accepting and non-demanding, we've lost that. The children are growing up without loving homes, and that just is crazy.
Which brings me to my last question, because we're almost out of time, is the fact that right now, 9 out of 10 kids in this COVID era have anxiety or depression. So then you have in the partnership,
9 out of 10?
9 out of 10. And I mean, I see it in my own, in my business, in my clientele, and my friends and family. So when you have a spouse that is suffering from a mental illness, not a disease like cancer or a chronic physical illness, how do you recommend the spouse to make sure they have boundaries, they're taking care of themselves and not getting just sucked into the mental illness of their partner, but also giving the care that partner needs?
Boy.
Big question, John.
Okay, so here we have to go into a little bit of spirituality, which I'll go to the words of Buddha. Life is suffering. Okay, the first thing you have responsibilities in life, and if you keep telling yourself a story that life shouldn't be this way, you'll suffer more. Okay, so this is the mess you're in. Your partner is depressed. Your partner is unhappy. Your partner is stressed. First, you look at, how is that affecting me?
Mm-hmm.
It's keeping me from being happy with them. And this is, I remember taking a class where the teacher was saying to the guy, some person teaching positive thinking, the secret, it was one of those people. And so the guy is being processed. He says, I'm practicing all these things. I'm positive. Everything's great in my life. I'm positive all the time, except my wife. She's just so negative. And, it's just a black cloud whenever there. But I'm so positive. I said, well, it sure doesn't sound like you're positive about your wife's black cloud. Okay. So that's, again, if we get caught up into blaming our own unhappiness based upon our partner. And that's where we have to realize, be honest. Okay, they're depressed, they're anxious, but I'm being judgmental, I'm demanding, I'm expecting more. I have to learn to accept the reality I'm in. And the way you get there is through emotional intelligence. And the reason that person is stuck in depression and anxiety field is they have no emotional intelligence at all. What you do when you're unhappy is you process feelings with emotional intelligence. You start writing, one of the easy techniques, and anybody can do this. Your partner is negative or they're stuck and you're just feeling your own suffering. Stop blaming them for your suffering. That was Buddha's teaching. Not that I'm a Buddhist, but it's a nice little message here, is accept that life is suffering. Everybody's suffering right now. Like you said, 9 out of 10 people. So this is the world we're in right now. And so what is the cause of suffering? Well, the cause of my suffering is not them. The cause of my suffering is what I'm saying to myself is that they're causing my suffering, when the reality is my thoughts that are causing my upset. And so how do you then deal with that? The next step was, once you realize it's not somebody else that's causing your suffering, although they're triggering it without a doubt. You walk in the room, somebody's upset, they're not making you happy. Just because they're not making you happy doesn't mean they make you unhappy. That's your experience, because you're expecting them to make you happy. If you don't expect them to make you happy, then now you've seen, okay, so who's causing my unhappiness? Me. Then you can release your unhappiness. And that's this process where you explore self-awareness. Okay, so what am I feeling? I'm angry that they're a black cloud. I'm angry they're not helping me. I'm angry they're not giving me what I want. I'm angry I have to come home to this. I'm angry I can't make them feel better. You have to feel the anger. And some people can't. That's why you're stuck. You can't feel all your emotions, because underneath anger is disappointment. I'm so sad. I'm disappointed. We used to be happy. Now my partner's not happy, and I can't be happy when I'm with them. You just listen to the story you're telling yourself that's making you feel sad. You're not trying to be rational. Okay. You're trying to let yourself, just all negative emotions are all irrational. Okay. There's no reason you have to be feeling this way. You've created a story that makes you feel that way. So now listen to the story you're telling you in experience, that I'm telling myself that I can't be happy because you're this way. So I'm sad about this. Let yourself feel your legitimate feelings, or what you feel, your sadness, your disappointment. So we're going from red emotions, anger, to blue emotions of sadness, to then underneath that is the yellow emotions of fear. Fear. I'm afraid this is going forever. I'm afraid I'll never be happy again. I'm afraid it's my fault. I'm afraid that they won't change. I'm afraid they're going to die. I'm afraid I'll be all by myself. I'm afraid I'm going to get sick from this. I'm afraid I'll never be happy again. I'm afraid I'm not paying bills this month. I'm afraid I depend on this. But you have to feel what your fears are. You cannot be unhappy and stressed if you don't have these 4 levels: anger, sadness, fear, and then I'm so sorry. One is I'm sorry I can't make you happy. I'm sorry I have to live with this person. I'm sorry that they're not doing this for themselves. I'm sorry they're not doing that for themselves. I'm sorry that I'm judging them for that. I'm sorry I'm being critical. So you let yourself feel regret, not just about them, but also how you're reacting to them. Sorry, I'm holding on to all this anger for them. I want to let it go. What I want is have harmony. I want happiness. I want joy. So you go through the 4 negative emotions, then get in touch with what it is you're wanting. And it's more pure. It's not so much what I don't want. Now it's what I do want. See, negative emotions are all what I don't want. You don't create anything with I don't want. That's just resistance. But once you've felt your resistance, exploring it, it's all irrational, then come into what I want and express what you want. And I want harmony. I want happiness. I want my partner to be happy. I want to be happy. And then comes a place of what I'm grateful for and my forgiveness. I forgive them for unknowingly or knowingly hurting me. I forgive myself for unknowingly and knowingly hurting them. They deserve to be loved. I deserve to be loved. And imagine yourself, basically feeling grateful and what I'm happy about. So then feel your happiness, feel your gratitude, feel your confidence. See, it's like learning how to process negative emotions. It's in my books. It's a powerful skills so that my partner's unhappiness is not making me unhappy. So that's part of it. That's the emotional processing. And the other one is here, this stick in your partner is depressed and they're not going out. You need to go out and do things to make you happy. Your unhappiness and feeling bad for them is not going to help them feel good at all. I'm sorry you feel that way. What can I do about it? I can help you in some way. I offer to help. No. Or yes, you could do this for me. That's okay. But then go out and help yourself. You can't let somebody bring you down. If you let them bring you down, they're getting something out of it. Then you're actually making the process worse. But you're not happy. They're unhappy, but you're happy that I was able to go see this movie. I just saw this. I just went and saw, what is that great movie? The Voice of Freedom. What's the new one right now? The Voice of Freedom.
I don't know. I haven't been to a movie since before COVID, John.
Okay. Well, there's some good ones out there. So, but you do something that you enjoy doing, so you're not feeling I'm stuck to this negativity, and then you have more to come back to. I'm just really grateful. We're talking about the most painful thing in my life was feeling the pain what my wife was going through, and never judging her for any of that, of course, but being there but I also had to take time for myself as well. Now that time for myself was, fortunately I have a job and I could go to my job where I could feel some success. For men, it needs to feel some success. And for women, if your husband is sick and whatever, you have to have relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Your work can be good, but mainly you need other friends, people who care about you, where you're interacting with them. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Relationship is the primary source of female hormones of feel good, and work is the primary source of feel good for men. So we have to
This
keep
was something I talked to my mom about, who's very healthy, and my dad is pretty healthy, but you can tell one's going to go sooner than the other. And I just told her, I said, as you get into this stage of life, you need to make sure you've got weekly planned things with your girlfriends.
Yeah.
Keep you going. And she has, and it really has shifted her life. So it's very important. And gosh, I loved our conversation today, John. This was so helpful. And I know you hit home with so many people in this stage, because so many people are sick right now. I mean, that's a pandemic, whether it's the mental illness or just the rates of chronic disease going up. So this is really important for everyone to hear. Before we go, can you tell people where they can find you and all of your amazing books?
Oh, thank you, Sarah. MarsVenus.com. If you just go to MarsVenus.com or Google John Gray, Mars Venus, it's a wonderful website, lots of wonderful blogs, and it's truth. And I think that anytime you're hearing truth, your body will start to be healthier. We're here. If you listen to mainstream media, you're getting sick just listening to lies.
Yeah.
If you just listen to lies over and over, you have to counteract that with listening to what is true, to find the knowledge which is really true, and without having to get political about it. It's also the just reading books that are really relate to your life and are true. And people tell me they just open up pages of any of my books and they just feel like, wow, this is so grounded, this is so truthful, this is so real, and it's so loving at the same time. And that's what we just need to reflect on that and not expose ourselves too much to lies unless we're very clear that they're lies. Okay, if you know they're lies, like when I would watch the news with Bonnie, I had to put it on pause. We have TiVo, you can put it on pause. And I say, now the truth is this, and the truth is this, because you're actually going into a trance. Your subconscious mind is believing a lie when you watch TV, unless you're very clear that these are lies. And there's so much evil in the world. Good people can't imagine how evil it is. Okay, what you're seeing happening in the world is evil. And this is, the way Christians looked at it is Satan. Satan is there, and Satan's biggest trick is to have you feel like there's no Satan. This is evil in the world, and you can see it on mainstream media, and they're all nice people, and they all seem so nice. How could they be behind? They're like puppets being guided by evil, put it that way. And we have to know that's the case.
I love what you're just saying, because it's just like with a diet. You have to, if you want to clean up your diet, you've got to get the junk out, but you've got to fill the fridge with the good food, right? So you've got to not just get rid of the bad news on the TV, but you got to fill your time with Audible, if you like to listen to books, and I've listened to John through Audible, or reading your books, and fill your mind with the good stuff and push the bad stuff out. So there's no room for the evil to get in.
That's exactly right.
You know what else is going to happen when you start doing that? You're actually going to get physically healthier, and your depression might alleviate, because you actually are filled with love and good information. And so I love everything that you say, John. I love all that you are and everything you represent. So thank you again. And thank you everybody else for joining us today. If I can help you with your health issues, maybe you need to start with the physical issues that you're having or the mental issues. And I have some solutions for those. So you can contact me through sarahbantahealth.com. Happy to put together a protocol for you. Join my free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. What did you learn today from John? This is a totally different aspect that we went down, and I just love it. I learned a lot about my relationship going forward, and I sure hope you did. You will be a part of a like-minded group with my group coaching, and everybody is so supportive. So just for that camaraderie and that feeling of maybe you feel alone out there, this is a place that's safe, that you feel supported, and you will get your answers to your health questions. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram under Accelerated Health Products, and over 100 channels under Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. And share this with a friend, share this with a parent. Maybe your parents are in their 70s or 80s and they need some of this help from John. And please hit the subscribe button if you did enjoy the show. Join us every week on Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific and Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific. You can use coupon WELCOME10 for 10% off site-wide. Thanks again and have a great week.